All right, here we go. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. This is the Kitchen Sink WP podcast, episode 616.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash. 404 error. Page not found. Links aren't working. System is crashing. System is crashing. System is crashing.
Your old HTML website. Barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website. Better than it was before. Better. Stronger. Faster. We have the technology. The technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silvey, host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events, only one next weekend. WordCamp BHOPAL, that's in India, December 20th and 21st. Is that right? Yeah, double checking that date for you. Yes, it is. It's in central India, so that's pretty cool. I'm not going to make it. Sorry, just not going to even say I'm going to even try. It's kind of far. All right, that's the only one I believe next week. Yeah, that's it for upcoming events. Moving on, segment 1 in the news. One thing to talk about here, and that is the State of the Enterprise WordPress 2025 report came out. It's really long, so I pulled out some 3 or 4 things I wanted to mention here. It's really cool, very interesting read. Link in the show notes, but a couple of things to call out. Increased sole reliance, meaning that over half the surveyed enterprise companies now rely solely on WordPress, indicating the shift away from the custom-built bespoke solutions. Interesting. Headless adoption doubled, went to 36%. So there's a renewed interest in decoupling architectures for omnichannel content delivery. Another one here to share with you is that a record 28% of enterprise WordPress sites now receive over 10 million unique visitors per month, which highlights the ability to handle immense scale. And lastly, a long-term commitment. 8 out of 10 organizations have used WordPress for over 5 years, which demonstrates that the long-term trust is there in the platform in the current state of affairs. So pretty cool. Check it out. Link in the show notes. Again, it's the Enterprise WordPress 2025 report, State of the Enterprise WordPress. Pretty cool. So is that it in the news? Yeah, kind of a light news week as we kind of wrap up the year. So that means meat and potato segment 2. But first, before we get to that, a word from this week's sponsor. This week's sponsor is WordPress.com and their business hosting plan. If you build websites for yourself or for clients, this is one of the strongest all-in-one setups you can get. Let's start with performance because this thing moves. Your site is going to run on high-frequency CPUs that are tuned specifically for WordPress and WooCommerce, so page loads feel snappy even on busy days. Images get handled smartly, they generate thumbnails on the fly, and offload unused versions to the cloud, which saves space without slowing anything down. And if you ever get a traffic spike, the platform automatically scales up to more than 100 PHP workers, so your site just keeps cruising along. All this sits on top of a global CDN with data centers across 6 continents, which means your visitors get your content from the location closest to them. Now, reliability. You get unmetered traffic and uptime at 99.99999%, which is about as close to never going down as it gets. Your entire site is backed up in real time, and restoring a file is literally a single click. Plus, every WordPress.com site is instantly mirrored to a second data center in another region. If one has an issue, the other one takes over. And when you do need help, their support team is available around the clock. For the builders out there, this plan gives you full access to plugins, themes, and custom code. Use SSH, WP CLI, or GitHub deployments if that is part of your workflow. Test updates safely on the staging site, and take advantage of the advanced Jetpack features that millions of users rely on. And of course, security is fully handled. You get protection against DDoS attacks and malicious traffic, automated malware scans with one-click fixes, a real-time activity log, and free SSL for every domain. On top of that, you get unlimited pages, posts, and users, a custom domain for your first year, premium themes, video uploads, analytics, and the ability to customize every part of your site. If you want a hosting plan that removes the headache and lets you build with confidence, check them out. WordPress.com business plan. Thanks again for sponsoring this week's episode. All right. Once again, thanks to WordPress.com, the business plan for hosting. Great having you on board. Really do appreciate your support. Moving on now, segment 2, meat potatoes. Last week, I received an email from hover.com. It's where I buy my domains. Been there for many, many years. Well, I got the email saying that, hey, I have a bunch of domains coming up for renewal from in December and in January. So I guess my ideation when I have ideas is pretty strong in Q4 and Q1, respectively speaking, because there's a lot more that I remember that I got to renew. So that got me thinking, of course, about domains and buying and selling and the quick idea launches that I have, and whether the current chase for that small recurring revenue is actually viable. So this week, I'm going to talk about that. Domains, flipping, purchasing, flipping, possible, and how it's really being tied into that, quote, easy MRR, end quote, all that content being put out there these days. We'll get to more about that in a bit here. So starting with the why people buy domains. I kind of want to get to the psychology here. Most domains get bought in a moment of optimism. The idea feels really clear. The name is available, and $12, or actually about like $18 in some places now, is a small price to pay for a future potential. Buying the domain feels like progress from the outset, and no work has even started yet. So that's the why. It's that moment of optimism. Okay. Moving into how long to keep a domain before I let it go. And I've talked about this before. I've mentioned this. My basic rule of thumb is 1 year. Now, if a domain has been sitting untouched for a year or two, with no notes, no draft site, no momentum, you bought it, you sat on it, it's usually a signal. The idea is worth pursuing, but you pull back naturally over time, right? You get that momentum there, but then it's gone. So if you have to keep reminding yourself of why you bought it, it might be time to let it go. Now, full disclosure, I'm not perfect here. And that being said, I did recently renew one, just like, I think it was 2 months ago. I had let it go, but then I got a notice from, was it After Nick? One of the sites that says, hey, someone wants it. Someone is requesting to transfer something because it wasn't quite in redemption mode or in that status yet. So I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll renew it. It's valuable to somebody. I can sell it, make some money because I've had it for so long. So I went ahead and renewed it because it was not in redemption mode. I still had the chance. There was no extra fee. And I did. And I put up a landing page and I have a price on it. And now we wait. We'll see if there's actually real value there. If it comes up again next year for renewal and I have done nothing with it, I will probably let it go. But that being said, actually, I still know what the domain is, and I think it has value in a different way than I originally intended. So we'll see. Anyway, my typical stance on that is 1 year. Okay. Now, what makes a domain resellable? Well, most resellable domains are very short, clear, generic enough that someone can immediately see the use case. If you have to explain it, a long backstory, if it doesn't match, what someone's thinking, or if it's too closely related to you, that resale value drops really fast, right? The best test is simple. Would a stranger confidently build a business on this name without talking to you first? Simple as that, right? I'll say that one more time. Would a stranger confidently build a business on this domain name without talking to you first? Meaning that it's not tied to you. Okay. So if the answer is no, then it doesn't have the value. Okay. Why flipping domains is rarely an actual business for the masses, I think. So for every story of a big domain sale, there are thousands upon thousands of domains that just quietly renew every year without any interest or expire. The market, it turns out, is very crowded. Buyers are selective and premium names are just already gone. These one-word domains or first name, last name domains, because if your name is popular or quote generic, John Smith, Adam Silver. I own my name. I got lucky. I own my kids, my family's names, but I thought about that 25 years ago. But it's a tough market there. Most people, domain flipping ends up being a hobby funded by annual renewal fees rather than a reliable income stream. I'm going to say that one more time. Most times, for most people, buying a domain to flip it is more of a hobby because you're not really making a ton of money off of it unless you got really lucky and you bought some single word or easy things to remember early days, right? So it's not a reliable income stream for most of us. Now, this leads me to what I'm going to call the rise of the quick project. Right now, we have way more tools than we could ever have in the past, that you can build something fast. No code platforms, AI builders, vibe coding. You can spin up a product, a landing page, even a tiny SaaS in a weekend, and feel like you've just did something huge. And honestly, that part is fun. It does lower the barrier to entry. It gets people experimenting again and reminds us that building can be playful, instead of being overwhelming. I know I get sucked into this all the time. That's why this podcast episode exists, because I am an ideation savant. That's what I call myself. And I have ideas and I want to do stuff with them all the time. Anyway, I have other friends like this as well. My friend Adam, my friend Marcus, Courtney, you're all out there. I know you are. Dustin, Kyle, not so much. No, Kyle still does this. He has ideas, but Kyle's really unique here. He really takes the moment to step back and evaluate the opportunity. He does a lot more research than the rest of us, which I am jealous of. Anyway, I digress. Okay. So all that said, a landing page is not a marketing plan. It's the starting line, not the finish. If you want recurring revenue and it doesn't show up because you posted a screenshot and a rocket emoji and you're waited for Stripe notifications, that's not going to do it for you, right? Now, the reality check here is when things get hard. Okay, launching has never been easier, like I just said. Getting people to care is still the hard part. The internet did not suddenly remove the need for distribution, for clarity, for trust, just because your tool generated code that does work for you, like in an instant. It's pretty cool. The landing page is not the marketing plan. I said that, right? It's the starting line, not the finish. And it's just the truth of the matter is it's easy to start. It's hard to implement, hard to follow through, and hard to see success still. Okay. MRR in 2025, the truth. This is where I want to break down the fantasy here. There's this belief floating around there that you can spin up a tiny plugin or a micro SaaS, connect it to Stripe, and wake up tomorrow to a steady revenue, recurring income, a revenue stream, right? That idea usually skips the part where people spend months figuring out the messaging, the onboarding, support, and why people might be canceling, right? The internet is also very good at showing you the highlight reel. You set the launch tweet, your revenue screenshot, you celebrate with a post, but you rarely see the years, many, many years of false starts, abandoned ideas, and late nights that make the moments possible. What actually works here is that projects that tend to solve a very specific problem for a very specific group of people. They're either built by someone who understands that audience because they are either part of it or have spent real time listening. I mean, case in point, I'm really listening and I'm trying to listen better to the running community. I'm trying to build something there or multiple things, right? So pick your niche, pick your vertical market and go after that. The smartest builders here test before they overbuild. I'm not perfect there. They validate interest with conversations, pre-sales, scrappy versions, etc. I'm doing okay there. And then, of course, the unglamorous part, support, updates, bug fixes, marketing. It never really ends. MRR is not passive. It's a commitment, okay? So yeah, I mean, customers don't magically appear because you picked a cool domain. I know, I was kind of shocked too. It's true. So with that in mind, kind of want to wrap it up here, kind of a esoteric, broad view here of the domains and MRR and micro SaaS and the vibe coding. At the end of the day, buying a domain and launching an idea is not the problem. The curiosity is a good thing. It really is. Having that curiosity is great. The trap is thinking about every idea needs to be turned into a business or every project needs to produce recurring revenue. So buy the domain, go right ahead. Launch the idea, great. Just keep your expectations grounded. The real win comes from focus, following through, and knowing when to let something go. Lastly, if you're listening to this and you have a domain that you bought 3, 4, 5 years ago, you're not alone. I'm right there with you. Go ahead and share it with me. Better yet, find something to do with it and go ahead and launch it. Or when it comes up for renewal, let it go. Just let it expire. Okay, I'm with you. Anyway, I feel your pain. Moving on, segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, actually it's a website called getsequence.io. I saw this online, thought it was interesting. It's a website that lets you plan your finances to have things automated for you. Like you get a paycheck and it moves monies to different accounts. Now I thought this is pretty cool, checked into it. By the way, I have nothing connected to them at all, not even an affiliate. And I checked into this. It's pretty neat. You could do this with your own bank, and a lot of people do. I do. You have money that lands on day one from a paycheck, and then maybe the next day you transfer a couple $100 to a different account. The difference is, I looked into why you'd want to pay for the service, is that you can actually have a lot more automations with logic with getsequence.io. Like if-then statements, or if it hits a certain dollar amount, percentages, whereas your own bank can do one thing at a time kind of thing. And if you have multiple different banking accounts or investment accounts, I think GetSequence lets you tap into all those. So it's pretty neat. Check it out, getsequence.io. And the reason I share this is because as we move into 2026, I have some aggressive plans to regain control of my finances, my budgeting, get out a little bit of debt, etc. So check it out. Thought it was a cool thing for business owners and for everybody really, not just business owners, but we should be more connected to our money. So there you go. Getsequence.io, kind of neat. So I think it's like $8 a month. Not too bad. All right, that's it for this week's episode. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use a speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon. You can also buy me a coffee. If you want to sponsor the show, like WordPress.com, business hosting, they just did, you can do that too. There's a form on the website. Thanks to them for sponsoring this week as well. Thanks for listening. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. See you next week. Bye-bye.